This is the build that I enjoyed popping and playing a lot, and that's Tornado Shot Necro. And immediately there are two questions that you'll have when you hear this. Why Necro and why Tornado Shot? Well, there are two big benefits from picking Necro. The most obvious one is Core Spec, which you have probably seen being used a lot by Wonders, KBUC in particular. They spell Slinger to trigger Desecrate plus Volatile Death of Sieving to ramp up the attack speed. In this case I'm running Azanus Mark with Desecrate VD socketed in there to achieve the same goal and trigger them when I'm attacking with the bow. The second important part is Mistress of Sacrifice. It provides nice bonus to buffs that you have and increased skill effect duration, but most importantly we can get the benefits from one of the offerings. Bone offering in this case to achieve the majority of block chance on a bow build, 46% attack and spell block with my current setup. As for Tornado Shot, the big thing is, I just wanna play it. Before the leak started, I've tested Bow Necro with Ellie hit over Spectrum and it was solid, but when I saw screams of the Desiccator with Exile Shrine, I knew it's time for TS. Exile Shrine provides everything Tornado Shot needs. 80% increased projectile speed heals immensely with how the skill fills and clears. And 50% increased action speed multiplies the attack speed bonus we get in from Core Spec and offsets Tornado Shot downside from one of the latest nerfs to the skill, the 80% base attack speed, leaving us with more than 8 attacks per second. And that's another reason we're not dead, as the Tailwind's action speed from Gathering Winds is additive with the action speed from the Shrine build. I mentioned me running Bone Offering to get a lot of block, but how do you get block on bows? The big challenge is that almost every single block related stat on the passive tree is tied to either shields, dual wielding or staves. Enter Refracting Fog. In this patch you can get a notable on a cluster jewel and replace the enchantment with a new one. That's how I got Riot Quiller, usually a shield cluster exclusive notable, on a bow cluster. Now there is also Prodigious Defense, which gives more total block, but for us getting attack block is more difficult than spell block. A big portion of spell block is coming from Blue Nightmare plus Intelligence Trail Points to tutor with lightning resistance and Mystic Bulwark, which is the only generic source of block on the passive tree. To cap off attack block, I'm getting the rest of my body armor. You can get up to 9% block on Prefix as a Veiled modifier, and 7% as a tier 3 Eater implicit. I'm currently at 74% attack and spell block, and getting Awakened Enhanced 5 will cap my block. Replica Reckless Defense is also a solid option, but there is a significant pressure on jewel sockets. I'll add a couple of progression snapshots of the build for you to check out in the description, but I will talk about the final one that you see here. The introduction of imbued gems helps a lot with the socket pressure that is present in the build. Tornado Shot is imbued with power charge on crit to generate power charges while also being a solid more damage multiplier support. It is supports are more damage support and Creative Fork helps a lot with clear. Keep in mind that Fork only affects the secondary projectiles, as the primary projectile always pierces. The other 6th link is Frenzy with either Cast on Crit or Mana Forge as one of the imbues. I prefer Cast on Crit because you can get quality on Mana Forge for an extra cooler recovery rate. When Frenzy hits and crits, it will trigger others gems socketed in, which are Tornado, Sniper's Mark and Ellie Weakness. The last gem here is Ensnaring Arrow for a bit of extra damage and slow. There's a flex spot and you can replace it with a gem of your liking. The gems in a helmet are Desecration, Bone Offering and Volatile Death of Sieving. On a bow attack it triggers these spells sequentially starting from the top left. Either Desecration or VD of Sieving should be imbued with Spell Cascade to make sure we spawn 12 corpses on trigger instead of 5 and explode more corpses with the VD. The Enhance is only there to get the extra Bone Offering effect for the block. The auras are Haste, Scary Bots to apply Shock and Chill, Surround Interrogation for all ailments, Precision, and level 1 Vitality to get light gain on hit from Watcher's Eye. This is because we are Ghost Reaver and have no life leech for sustain. The last 4 gems are Smoke Mine, Immortal Call, Automation, and Detonate Mines. Smoke Mine movement speed buff has a solid uptime from the extra duration we get in from Mistress of Sacrifice, more duration Imbue, and a Runegraft of the Warp. If you don't like Smoke Mine, then replace it and Detonate Mines with Frostblink and Blink Arrow. Now we'll talk a bit about items. The bow is your regular triple Ellie plus 2 arrow spine bow. I did this with recoms, and if you know how it works, you know how it works. You alt spam for the desired mods and then combine them together until you get the 5 mod bow. An interesting thing in this league is that you can divine your flat rolls before you recombine into triple prefix weapon. The way you do this is with the harvest, and we've got new rankers, and with these rankers you can bounce between 2 different elements. And this way you can divine your weapons. It will cost quite a bit of money to set it up, but once you get your triple prefix weapon, you don't have to divine it afterwards. The next item is Azimuth's Mark, corrupted with Ultimatum Implicit for additional projectile. Now, encountering this is very rare. Throughout the whole time that I was waiting for it to appear and then playing with the build, I've seen a total of 2 helmets, so you won't see that one, which is why you will see the +1 power charge in the PvP. +1 power charge is still pretty good. The quiver is the most generic quiver you can imagine. Just the good stats over here. Get yourself Fracture +1 arrows, spam essences, Reforged crit, GG. One of my rings is the Manifold with Fractured Elrion mana cost. The reason I did this is because we're triggering so many attacks and spells, and I would like to make them as cheap as possible. And because of this, I'm running Manifold and Reflected, which in total gives me -34 to the mana cost. The other mods are flat damage from the Essence of Torment, Life, and Dexterity helps a lot to be able to equip Spinebow. The other ring is Counter Stretch, reflecting the Manifold, and the third ring, which I'm getting from the Nameless Bloodline, is the Taming. It gives me a lot of damage and some nice resistances. We apply 5 ailments, 3 from the Secrets of Suffering, and 2 from the Skier bots. You can also replace it with Death Rush. You'll trade off quite a bit of damage, but you'll be faster. The body armor is a necrotic body armor with Fractured block attack. You either spam Dense Fossils or Reforged defense for prefixes first, and finish up with Eldritch, Exaltant, and also suffixes. Or the way I did it is I spammed either Anger, Hatred, or Wrath until I got suffixes, and then I Exalt slammed the prefixes with Eldritch Exalts and Annuls. Yoko Suffering, I'll try to volatile it to 12%. The damage boost is not that big, but that's a bit of min-maxing. And as for the rest, the gloves, just your generic temple gloves. Fracture it, finish suffixes, make prefixes. Same with boots. I Fracture Suppress, spam the Essence of Loathing for avoidance, and then finish up prefixes. The belt is the Exile belt. Now if you have like mirrors to spend for some reason, then the second good mod is the Impenetrable Shrine for extra defenses. But personally, I don't feel like it's worth spending that much money on it. And then the flasks are just your instant flasks and dodge rest to get yourself some charges at the beginning of the map or some boss encounters. In terms of jewels of note, Light of Meeting over here caps the kills rest by itself. I'm running Vitality and Hit Watcher's Eye and Phase in Haste. Lethal Pride helps to get a bit of strength and had some nice bonuses with the notables. I'm running a set of Forbidden Jewels for the Vile Bastion. It gives me a lot of energy shield. When I trigger my offering, you can see that I'm gaining more than 700 years, as well as that I'm stun immune while I have the energy shield. Secrets of Suffering for all ailments, and Blue Nightmare in this area to get a lot of spell block. A couple of things to note. Again, I mentioned Forbidden Jewels, they're quite expensive, and because I hate ranking, my way to sell stun was to run Immutable Force with at least 961% stun and block recovery, which means that the stuns will last for only 0.03 of a second, and then you get an extra jewel socket to, for example, use Replica Reckless Defense and cap your block that way. Another moment is that I was initially running Anathema with Ally Weakness, Sniper's Mark, Enfeeble, and Temporal Chains of Punishment. Compared to what I have here, it was better defensively, but I decided to drop it because the performance of constantly cursing and hitting triple quad curse enemies was not it, and also this setup has quite a bit more damage. And yeah, that's basically it. All I wanted to say about the build. I really enjoyed tinkering with it, helping it, and even more so playing it. I'm really excited for the fact that Tornado Shot is actually playable now. It's been a while, ever since it got nerfed. It was not the same. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching and have a good one.